All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. We're going to give people a few minutes to trickle in here. We're so excited to welcome you to, I think this is our third session with Jane and Clinic Sites Presents. And while you are coming in, hello, my name is Destin. I am the Director of Community here at Jane. We wanted to pop up a little poll to get some early feedback from you as we head into this session. And so what we would like to know is where you're at when it comes to searching online yourself. So when you're searching for something, when you're looking for a business or a clinic online, where do you usually start? Do you keep it old school and use Google? Have you ventured into ChatGPT or other AI search tools? Or do you use social media? Or just because we had to offer the full range, any yellow page folks out there? Oh, I'm seeing maybe no one yet. Zero on the yellow pages, which I
I hope we
mean,
get a
I
couple
think
of
there's
them.
a couple. You're seeing a
I
couple?
hope
I
we get a
see.
couple of them. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
want to
I
have a
mean,
full range represented here.
totally. And maybe there's another option. If there's an option we didn't include, I mean, one that maybe you might include, which is not a virtual option, but like word of mouth, I ask people too. So, yeah, Brittany, good question. Do yellow pages still exist? I think there is a virtual version. So let us know in the poll. This is going to be just helpful and it gives us some level setting for where everyone is at today. But yeah, as we continue that, I think we've seen some good responses. Google, obviously, a front runner on that. But thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited to see everyone here. I think there's probably some returning faces. So if you have joined Gabe, Matt, and I for a previous Clinic Sites and Jane webinar, let us know in the chat. I would love to know who's returning for round 3 here. It's lovely to see everyone again. And so today we're going to be diving into a topic that we've heard a lot of people express a lot of interest in, SEO in the age of AI. So our last session was all about SEO, where we heard from Gabe and Matt chatting about that. And now we're going to think about that in terms of AI and how that is impacting SEO today. So as I mentioned, I'm Destin. I'm Jane's Director of Community, and I have had the privilege of hosting these sessions throughout the year with Gabe and Matt. And doing these webinars is one of my favorite moments. I love getting to connect with our community and have these conversations. I love seeing the chat pop off and everyone engaging in conversation in there. And so with chat, I wanted to jump into a little bit of housekeeping before I pass it off to Matt and Gabe today. So if you have questions, we'd love it if you could pop it into the Q&A box. That's the best place to make sure they don't get lost in the chat. So at the bottom of your screen, you should see the option for Q&A. Pop those questions right in there. That being said, we do love an active chat, so do feel free to continue to pop your thoughts and ideas and reactions into there, and you can ask questions, but it's just easiest for us to keep track of them if they're in the Q&A. Speaking of chat, please flip that to everyone. It defaults to hosts and panelists, so we'd love it if you had the opportunity to chat with everybody in today's session, including us as well. And so flip that to everyone and go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from, what your discipline is, your specialty is, and if you have any early questions, we'd love to know what those are as well. Maybe drop in an emoji to show us how you're feeling today. On my team, we do a weather emoji in terms of how you're feeling. You know, sunny skies is good. Maybe the tornado a little chaotic. So let us know how you're feeling. And if you can't stay the whole time, don't worry. We're recording and we'll send it to your inbox after. And I believe I saw someone in the chat asked about Allison, you asked about the replay of the previous session. We can absolutely link to that into the email. That's also on our YouTube and in our community as well. So we can share the links to those so you can get access to the previous 2 sessions. And then the last thing, we will also be sharing another poll at the end. I think we might have a few polls throughout today's session as well. The final poll for today will be just questions on how we can continue to offer great sessions, what we could do to improve for the next future webinars. And so we'd love to hear any topics you'd love to have us cover next. And with that, let's jump into today's session. I love seeing people introduce themselves in the chat, so thank you so much for everyone jumping in and doing that. Keep that up. Jane team as well, if you're here, we have some members of our team in the chat and Q&A as well, so make sure to pop in there and say hi as well. But for today, I'm joined by Matt Morrison, Director at Clinic Sites. So it's really exciting to do these sessions with the Clinic Sites team. I'm excited to be having this third session today. So Matt works closely with clinics on building a strong online presence. No surprise there with Clinic Sites being the company that he works for, and knows how to turn complex topics into clear next steps. So today we're going to be diving into SEO and AI, as I mentioned, and I'm sure you are all feeling it. That's such a big topic, and it can feel pretty overwhelming. But the goal of today's session is to keep things simple and helpful. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Matt.
All right. Thanks so much, Destin. Yes, so this whole space is changing very fast, and it is very easy to feel like you're behind in this. So we're here to bring some clarity, help you figure out what actually matters to your clinic with all this noise happening with AI and how fast things are changing. Um, I'm also excited to have Gabe Fontana here with us today. So Gabe leads our SEO efforts here at Clinic Sites, and spends his days looking at what works in search, what's shifting with tools like ChatGPT, all of Google's new AI features. And so, Gabe, if you want to say a quick hello.
Super excited to be here talking about this topic. I would like to point out we did put yellow pages in as a bit of a joke, but a lot of people commented psychology today, and that is a directory just like yellow pages was. So kind of interesting because we are going to be talking about that later today. So yeah, pumped to do this.
All right, too good. Let's kind of talk about an overview of what we're going to go over today. Gabe and I are going to be walking through the ways that people are finding health and wellness businesses online and how it's just starting to change. We're going to start with what's different about traditional search and SEO, the way we've known it. So just to kind of level set and make sure we're all on the same page. And then we're going to dive into more about how AI search works and what that means for your clinic. After that, we're going to look into ways to help your practice show up in even more places online. And then we'll wrap things up with a quick recap and leave time for questions at the end, as Destin referenced. So make sure you're dropping those into the Q&A throughout the chat. We have our team standing by to answer any questions on the fly, and then we'll also be diving into a bunch of those at the end. So look forward to hearing all your thoughts on it as we go here. So let's get rolling here with part one, which is what's changing with traditional search and SEO. So to this point, search engine optimization has been all about getting you to the top of Google search. You hear about all the time. I want to get to the top of page one, rank first, how important that is for your business. That's where businesses have started over the years. They've started with google.com as the place to go. They would input their search. Google would provide them with a list of top 10 best search results it could find. And then those search results, of course, meant more patients for the clinics that showed up at the top of it.
Yeah, and like the clinics and businesses who showed up in the top three results, they got a disproportionate number of clicks than the rest of the businesses on the first page. Even if you were on the first page in the eighth, ninth, or 10th position, you were getting hardly any clicks compared to the ones in the top three. However, there was still value attached to showing up on the second, third, or even the 20th page of Google. It meant you were getting recognized. It meant that Google was acknowledging your existence at the very least. And even today, as of a few days ago, we're seeing that change.
Yeah.
So,
That's right. So that's how SEO's worked for many years, just making sure we're all on the same page. But today, what we're going to talk about how it's all changing. So, as we've all seen, AI tools like ChatGPT are growing fast, and people are starting their searches there.
and maybe Google's not growing as fast, but does it mean they're going away?
Yeah, no, not at all. And then we have some stats here that we're in a moment to back this up. But it does mean that clinics need to be ready for both when we're thinking about showing up online. So, in that, we're going to talk a little bit more about how AI search works. And we're just going to run another quick poll here. Tell us in the chat which one you use more, Google or ChatGPT. Actually, sorry. We switched this poll up. The script was off there. What platform do you think had more searches in August of 2025?
Yeah. Which platform had more searches?
Okay, so as we let those results come in here, we're gonna reveal. So you probably heard many people say ChatGPT is going to replace Google, but the numbers are telling us a different story. Think about this scale. In 1 month, ChatGPT had 5.8 billion searches. In the same month, Google had 83.8 billion searches. So that's not actually even close. Google still is dominating the traffic for search online, but it's clear that ChatGPT, along with some other AI search tools, are starting to put a real dent in Google's volume.
Google. Okay. Well, that's interesting to see. 50% of the people said ChatGPT, 34% said Google. So I think the sentiment has been that, Google is going away. Chat, AI search, chat, Perplexity is taking over. But in this same study, if we what was also interesting, not just like the volume, but was that 95% of ChatGPT users still utilize and rely on Google. So they'll start on chat, but they hop back over to Google. Whereas only about 14% of Google users utilize ChatGPT. And this was a study conducted by a company called SimilarWeb. And so AI is growing fast, but Google is still the default starting point and source of truth, in my opinion.
Yeah. So let's take a look at a minute here for talking about the AI, the adoption curve of AI, especially when it comes to search, so you can get a sense of what's coming. We all see that AI is becoming more common in day-to-day life. Many of you are already using it, as we've seen from the results, maybe for writing, scheduling, research. And some of you may be familiar with this adoption graph I'm about to show you. It was popularized by books like Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm or Malcolm Gladwell's Tipping Point. And I think it gives us a good illustration of where we're at in the adoption of AI search. So it talks about how there are different groups that adopt new technologies at different stages. Here at first, we see the innovators. Those are the people who try new things just because it's new. They're trying everything all day just to see what's out there. But next up, we have the early adopters who are happy to adopt the technology that has value. These people drive innovation with influence into the broader market. And then as technology progresses, it crosses this big chasm into the next group called the pragmatists. These people are a little slower to adopt technology, but if you can show them the clear proven benefits, then they're going to jump on board. And finally, we have the conservative adopters who are much slower to test things, but will reluctantly adopt things because they finally accept that the world has changed. And then we're not going to spend too much time today talking about the laggards, because when it comes to local search, they're the ones who are still on their front porch right now waiting for the yellow pages to arrive. So we're at a turning point in adoption here, where innovators, they started to use AI search 2-3 years ago. Early adopters picked it up over this past year or two. And now the reason why we're on this webinar today talking about this is because we've crossed that chasm into the early majority, where we're starting to see those people pick it up more and more on a day-to-day basis. And so as you can see with the adoption curve, more and more people are coming, and that curve is just going to get bigger as we go here. So this shift means more people are using AI tools to search online. And if your clinic isn't showing up in those results, there could be a big missed opportunity for growth for your business. So our goal today is to help you get ahead of that curve. And before we jump into the tips, we're going to start with a quick one-on-one on how AI search actually works. And before we go any further, I just wanted us to ground ourselves in the basics here of how AI search does work, because if you understand the mechanics, then the rest of this is going to really start to click into place.
Yeah, and we use ChatGPT a lot. Later, we do talk about Google AI mode, but we're really talking about AI search as a whole. So ChatGPT, Gemini, Google's AI mode, Perplexity, all these AI search tools. And the simplest way to think about it is when you're using AI search, the search tool doesn't just look at one query, which is the phrase that was entered, right? It takes that question, instantly explores into dozens, sometimes hundreds of related sources. It goes out and scrapes information from all those sources. They can be websites, reviews on Yelp and Google and whatnot, forums like Reddit, and directories like the Yellow Pages, Psychology Today, Cairo America, right? And it goes into all of these sources, pulls back all of that information instantly, and brings it back into its context window, where it synthesizes all of that information into one clear answer for the user.
Yeah. So instead of giving you a list of links like Google's traditionally done and asking you to do all the research, it's doing all the heavy lifting in the background and instantly hands you that answer. So the most effective way to think about tools like ChatGPT is as a thinking partner, a tool that can go out, do all that research for you, and bring you back an answer basically instantaneously. And so we have a couple of illustrations here to help really drive this home. To understand AI search, let's first give the comparison of what the traditional search experience looked like. First, the person needs to look through a bunch of blue link responses once they've put their search query in. And that can take a little while. They have to browse multiple websites, research, try to piece it all together. And after that, they spend more time synthesizing all the info and then making a decision. So it's a lot of steps and a lot of effort. For comparison's sake, on this slide, I want you to see that all the notes are manual processes done by you. No research partner involved in this. Comparing that to AI search, you put in your questions into AI, and the AI does all the heavy lifting behind the scenes. Like Gabe was just referencing, it parses all the information, does the research, makes the connection, gives you a clean answer at the end. And so instead of spending time on each step, you get an instant shortcut straight to the conclusion. And the person just gets to review the result. They just look at it and decide whether or not they're happy with that answer and whether or not they're ready to move forward. So a dramatically different experience where Google's kind of just providing it, or sorry, AI is just providing it on a silver platter at the end. And it's a much different than maybe them bringing up 5 different options themselves to compare and contrast which one they might want to go with. So as I suggested earlier, AI search is your own personal research assistant that can instantly explore far more data than you ever would have been able to on your own. I have an illustration here that I think is going to help tell the story of this. So AI search query gets put in. What AI is going to do is go and find the top sources it can find. We put a bunch of examples here on the slide for you. They're going to look into Yelp and find out that, oh, there's your business listed on Yelp, which is fantastic. There's a bunch of competitors, and we're highlighting one particular competitor in green here for the sake of the illustration. Then they find a top 10 blog where top 10 chiropractors in your area. And look at that, your competitor made it onto that list. They're ranked as number 2. Good to know. There's also a bunch of competitors. You didn't seem to make that list. Google Maps, hey, there you go. You popped up well. That's awesome. You're in Google Maps, so they're seeing that. All of a sudden, your competitors posted a number of videos to YouTube, so they're seeing a bit of a trend over that way. And then they go to Reddit, where your competitor has been very active and they've been answering lots of questions, providing lots of value to different questions people are asking over in Reddit. And then on Facebook, your competitor shows up again. And so the big idea is that you would have had to previously, with traditional search, do all of this yourself. But what AI can do is read through all these results. Again, it's instantaneous basically. And what it's going to do is draw this consistent line through here and find your competitor in all these spots. And so when it comes time to give its final result on the silver platter, who are they going to mention but the competitor? Because they're the one who they're seeing making the biggest impact across the web. And so what they're going to do is everyone else is going to fade away. And this is the final result that they're going to give. So that gives you a little bit of insight into that.
And we're going to keep talking about this idea. And like, I'll just kind of mention it right now. We're talking about surface area online. And we mentioned how, when you type in your search query and then the AI model goes and fans out and expands it into dozens or hundreds of sources and related questions, right? If you show up in 2 out of, this is what this kind of slide is representing. If you show up twice out of those 100 compared to 40 times out of those 100 sources and related searches that it expanded, you're a lot less likely to get mentioned in the search results. So the biggest takeaway is like, the more you show up in these various places online, the more likely you are to show up in an AI search's response. And it's not just checking your website, it's checking your entire digital reputation or presence. And that's why the work you do across all these touch points matters now more than ever.
Awesome. And I just want to speak to one question that Brittany put into the Q&A, which is that these example sources are just purely examples. I think they're good ones and that they're ones we commonly see, but they will differ based on the search that someone's putting in. So let's dive into that, because I think that actually brings us exactly to this next point in terms of where people want to be showing up online.
Totally. And like with traditional SEO, everything revolved around your website. And I still believe that your website is a solid anchor point for your business. Now with AI search, tools like ChatGPT, your entire online presence matters. So does your website, but it's no longer the only factor and the most important factor. More and more, it's about showing up in lots of different places. So some of the things you want to focus on are your social media profiles. So you want to create or update accounts on platforms your audience uses and AI models are scraping. Instagram pages, Facebook, LinkedIn. Okay, next is online reviews. So encouraging patients to leave reviews on Google, Yelp, and other reputation tools. And then there's the directory listings. Yellow pages still do exist, but there's Psychology Today, for instance, and a bunch of other directory listings. You could type into Google, if you're a chiropractor in Florida, show me all the directories for chiropractors in Florida. That's one way to find a bunch of them. So you want to make sure your clinic appears in these directories, that your information, specifically name, business name, address, and phone number, is accurate and consistent across all of them. YouTube and podcasts, right? So if your clinic, if you can post helpful content on YouTube or take part in a podcast, these are great signals for AI searches. Then there's online communities. So wherever you can show up, like in Reddit or on Facebook groups, wherever you can show up and be a helpful expert, not necessarily, sending people to your website, but just answering questions and like showing up as your business name, helping people out. This is going to help you and build authority. And lastly, press, blog mentions, and backlinks. So if you can get your clinic featured in blog posts, news stories, and other websites, so links from reputable sources kind of help with this visibility a lot.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight one thing, maybe coming back to Brittany's question a little bit, which is that, well, which sources are they? Is you have to imagine that AI is mimicking the human experience and going and doing that for you. So today, let's just take that chiropractor in Florida. If you were to Google best chiropractor in Florida and look at the blue link search results that come up, those are the places that ChatGPT is using. At the end of the day, it has not indexed the web. It's utilizing Google's index to go and pull all these sources from. So you want to know what sources are being used for you specifically? Go do the Google search and pull it all up. You're going to find on their top 10 pages from Yelp. You're going to find those top 10 blogs we've talked about. You're going to find links to YouTube videos, those kinds of things. So those are the sources where AI is going ahead to do all the research for you.
And I'll just answer kind of, I think, sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, but Dara, how active do you need to be showing up across all these touch points? I think if you could bake it into your monthly workflow, that would be a great place to start. If you can do it once a month, great. If you can do it once a week, even better. But I think what we see with the internet, with social platforms, the more active you are, the more you get rewarded. But I think just working it into your workflow is the best place to start.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so you mentioned earlier about the importance of making sure business details are showing up consistently online, and we want to show you how AI search pulls that contact information and why that's important. So for this example, Gabe, let's say I'm a chiropractor in Berwyn, Pennsylvania. Do you want to walk us through why it's important that I keep my contact information consistent across the web?
Absolutely. So this is a real search. We typed into chat, right? Who's a chiropractor in Berwyn, Pennsylvania? And spoiler, the result we're going to see, the first result, Creative Health and Spine, they use JNAP. They also have a website built with clinic sites. They're on our Social Plus platform as well as our SEO Booster product as well. But a big factor when ranking in AI models is your company's surface area. How many different places are you showing up? And more importantly, how many different places is your business name, address, and phone number appearing on the internet? We call this NAP, name, address, phone, NAP consistency. So your name, address, and phone number should be everywhere. Your website, Google Business Profile, directories like Yelp, Yellow Pages, and any other business listing directories you can think of. Like your local business chamber of commerce, Apple Maps, Google Maps, Bing Places. For business listings, there are so many directories out there, and getting listed in them is so important. So as you can see, like in this search result on the left-hand side, they literally popped up a table with name, address, phone. And when I clicked, I expanded the sources, and you can see these are directories. 23 chiropractors near Berwyn, chirodirectory.com, yellowpages.com, creativehealthandspine.com, their website, USA Chiropractor. These are directories. So we're just kind of really hammering in on this point.
Love it. Okay, so let's quickly speak to this myth, which can be understandable. And we spoke to this a little bit earlier, that you wonder, is ChatGPT replacing Google? But the reality is that Google won't just simply be replaced. They're not going to stand still during this whole process, and we're seeing that right now. The search results page don't look the same or behave the same way like they did 5 years ago. They're constantly evolving what gets prioritized and shrinking the visibility of page two and beyond. So we see things, this with things like AI overview, where Google will actually attempt to answer your search query right at the top of the page before they even start to show you all those blue link search results. And also, they've launched AI mode now, which is essentially their own version of ChatGPT like experience.
So this is why we're saying like the opportunity isn't really about picking sides, like, optimize for AI or optimize for Google or chasing rankings. It's just about strengthening your overall online reputation and presence. So both Google and AI see you as trustworthy enough to surface you as their results. Clinics need to show up in both worlds.
Yeah, that's right. So we kind of want to reframe that, take it from that myth to this reality that the opportunity here is not changing from one tool to another, but rather the way people search for information is fundamentally changing. With AI search becoming the new norm, it's more important than ever to show up in multiple points across the web, truly establishing yourself as that trusted, reputable clinic that AI should recommend when it delivers the final results. And so that kind of brings us to our big take from the team at Clinic Sites and Jane here is that traditional SEO is still the foundation of a great online strategy. As Gabe talked about, all those fundamentals of what SEO means for a website that's going to rank well, but AI search means it's now it's beneficial to do even more. And so we're actually going to drop in another quick poll here just to ask you, what is the biggest barrier you're seeing in improving SEO now in September 20? Sorry, is it lack of time? Is it lack of knowledge and training? Is it cost or resources? Uncertainty about results, not just a current priority for you. We'd love to know kind of what are those blockers for you as we look ahead to this. And so let's move forward here as we go.
Yeah, and I also, when we talk about this, showing up in both worlds, traditional SEO is not dead, not going away. The basics are still the foundation. I think it's really important to note that all of these AI models, they're piggybacking off all the work that Google has already done. They're referencing Google, like they're referencing all the results pretty much in Google. And this is why it's so important to still have, basic SEO. This is a fast, mobile friendly, well-structured website. If you were part of our webinar a couple months ago, we talked a lot about this. The structure of your website, where the keywords are on your website so patients can actually find you, backlinks, other sites vouching for your authority, this word of mouth, this online word of mouth, and reviews, which have always been critical in healthcare as social proof and in all businesses. And Google reviews are still like a main ranking factor. This is the foundation. It still matters. Without it, you're not even in the game. I just think it's so important to still think about SEO.
That's right. And then so from there, as we've shown you, the shift is that AI doesn't just crawl websites, it pulls from your whole digital ecosystem, social media profiles, community mentions, your visibility everywhere counts. So we like that people have started to reframe SEO from being search engine optimization to now calling it search everywhere optimization. So you're thinking of how when you're thinking of how to approach this, think of traditional SEO as the roots and AI as those branches. Strong roots mean healthy growth, but branches spread your reputation everywhere patients look. And so we just love to highlight the different clinics that we're working with. And this is just an example of how one of our clinics, Bravo Physio, is doing an incredible job showing up in all these places. You see their website there, but they've got their Jane booking page, which is a massive benefit for your SEO value. But they're on Google Maps, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, they're in Yelp. They're keeping all their social media profiles really active. And so what we're seeing is the impact this can have when it comes to recommending the top service providers in an area. So I guess just to quickly recap and review, we've covered a lot of things here today. What's changed with traditional search and SEO, and how do we need to rethink the way we've maybe been viewing that problem all along? A basic 101 understanding of how AI search works, and why showing up everywhere matters, and how that's going to make a big impact to how you show up online when people are searching for you. And so you'll notice a quick poll popping up here. We'd love your feedback, not just on today's session, but also on what you'd like to learn in the future. We're thinking of focusing social media strategies next time, but your input's going to help us decide where to go with that. And so on the previous poll, we asked what were the barriers for you? Some of you were saying a lack of knowledge and training. I hope this was helpful today, and we're going to have more of this to come. Gabe and I love talking about this stuff. We love learning about it. We were actually joking about how in real time things were changing as we were just putting even the content for this webinar together. Gabe's like, I just learned this on LinkedIn, and I just saw this on a podcast. And so we're figuring this out as it goes because it is changing very, very fast. So we're gonna have lots more content and learning to bring to you as we go here. But another factor people said was that time was an issue, is that you just don't have time in your day. We know you're busy, you're helping people. We want to help you help more people. And so I just want to call out that if everything we talked about is something you want, but don't feel like you can find it in your schedule to do this, Clinic Sites would love to help you with this. We've talked about a lot of different things in today's session, including having a great website, optimizing for SEO, posting to social media, optimizing your Google business profile, gathering more Google reviews. These are all the things that Clinic Sites is going to be here to help you with. So if you want to chat, there's a QR code in that bottom left corner that you can use. You can also go to clinicsites.co/help, which is going to just take you to a quick form to let us know you're interested, and we will reach out to you, and we can go from there and see if it would all be a good fit. And so with that, I will pass it now back over to Dustin.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I already see some great questions in the chat that I know we're going to cover. And one of the ones that I'll get Matt and Gabe thinking about now, because I've seen quite a few people, just like the last few chats, is working in a discipline or specialty where you can't ask for reviews. So psychologists, social workers, that kind of stuff. I already think I know which direction you're going to go with that, but we'll jump to that in a second when we go through our Q&As, because that's something that's come up time and again. And the discipline specific and specialty specific and even regional limitations of some of the, especially around marketing, what we can and cannot do. But before we jump into that, I did just want to give a shout out to another place where you can ask some of these questions, because I think what you're seeing here in the chat is that one of the things you need to be doing is talking to other people in your specialty, in your region, in your discipline to find out what they're doing and how you can learn from one another. So we'd love to invite you to join us in our community. So we have our Jane community group on Facebook. We'd love to have you come join there. It's a great place to continue any conversations specifically around your discipline or specialty. This is not a place to only talk about Jane. We love it. Just anything around business and opening and running and growing your practice. And so this is a great place to just chat with each other, get early access to some new features, find out what's coming next. So yeah, absolutely scan that QR code if you want to, and we'll send a link out in the chat or in the email as well after today's session. And now let's get to what I think will be the next most helpful part of the session, is going through some questions. So I think let's jump to that one that I brought up already, thinking about people that work in specialties or disciplines where they can't ask for reviews. So how do you tackle that in terms of SEO, and what do you do?
Well, okay, I'll go first here, Matt,
Okay.
because if you can't request reviews, I think personally, when I'm, using psychology today and finding therapists online and then going over to their website, a really important thing that you can do that AI acknowledges, that Google acknowledges, is sharing anonymous patient stories. And it's not like quotes from patients or, whatever terminology you use, but it's sharing the transformation, the struggles that people you work with face, and how the therapies or modalities that you use helps the transformation. So you kind of have to tell this story about a transformation and maybe educate on the different types of modalities, what they're most beneficial for, what they're, like talking about these real struggles that people face and how these different modalities serve them. So patient stories can act as reviews as well. And this is a powerful tool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think Kevin's just saying, like, and I think to what you're saying, like, they're not really allowed to do that under their jurisdiction. So I think part of the challenge here is that there's all these regional specifics, and so how can you do that? Because you can say CBD can, he's talking about CBT can help with people with anxiety, but not give examples. And so in that scenario, when you're thinking about reviews and how does this all fit into the ecosystem of what benefits SEO, would you recommend more like creating more blog posts or creating more social media posts? Like, what can they do? Maybe it's not exactly like specific stories around that, but is there other types of content that you would recommend that they can produce that would sort of give them that same benefit?
Yeah, I just want to add one quick item here, which is that I think what's great is that we're seeing that what AI search is doing is it's pulling from a variety of sources, and that is just one of them. So I think what's great is that you're kind of level set with the rest of the people in your industry. So as long as everyone else is following the rules, you should all be on the same playing field as far as not using reviews as a key way to drive information. What I would actually reframe that question as is, what is someone looking for when they're trying to figure out, when they're trying to look for reviews? They're trying to figure out whether or not you are trustworthy, whether or not people have what kinds of things you've helped people with before, whether they've had a good experience or not. And so what I would approach that with is using these other sources to bring that trustworthiness across. So I can't read a review of Bob saying that he had an amazing experience in a counseling session with you, but you can tell me what you do in your counseling sessions on a YouTube video. You can have a podcast where you talk through different experiences and what people are navigating in life. And so there's all these ways where I can evoke that same emotion. And I think AI search is smart enough to realize, hey, this person is very active, very transparent, telling me about these experiences. And so it's other things that are going to be those factors in your particular industry where reviews have kind of been taken off the table as an option. So again, my hope is that everyone else in your industry is behaving themselves and not taking reviews if they're not supposed to be. So then it kind of says, okay, one of the factors is off the table. Let's use these other five to determine who the best counselor in this area is.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think people are looking to find out who they're going to be working with and who they're going to be seeing. So showing your authentic self, I think, is a really important part of that. I think that dovetails nicely into a couple of questions we've had around how much does social media presence play into this, if at all? Like how does that impact SEO?
Yeah, I'll quickly like sorry, Gabe. I'm probably stealing your thunder on this one. This is one of these funny ones where Gabe, like 2 weeks ago, was like, "Hey, like hot off the presses, Google is now indexing social media posts." And so all of a sudden, things like that maybe before people had to discover, you had to follow someone on a social media profile to really discover things. You posting great, valuable content to social media is now going to get picked up in search results, which means it's going to be one of the sources again that comes back to what AI search is using. Again, if we look at the idea that AI search is just mimicking the human experience, that's what we would all do. We would all jump around onto different profiles and find out who the right people are, read through their posts to see if this feels like a good fit. AI is doing the exact same thing. So we're seeing now more than ever an active, valuable social media profile is going to be very important to showing up well in AI search.
Awesome. And I think part two, Gabe, if you have more to add to that, go
I
ahead.
would just add, like personally, when I'm on social media and I come across like say couples therapy, or like counselors, they'll do role playing or they'll share an exercise that they actually use, right, to help calm anxiety. And they're using modalities that they use one-on-one with their, patients, but they're doing it to the general public online. And I follow these people, right? And I do these exercises with them. So I think there's like you don't have to share specific things that you're doing with patients, but you can share your approach to how you work that just builds that authority and builds a bit of more of a community.
Okay, I can piggyback on that a little bit more. It's actually a great tip I heard yesterday talking to a social media expert in this field, and he was saying like, give away your secrets, give away the things that make the experience with you great, because what it's going to do is give people a taste of what it means to be in a session with you, and it's not going to replace it, because truly to be in a session with you, or in any part of what you're doing, no matter your discipline, is it's actually going to nothing can replicate the actual moment of being there with you to speak to their specific needs, to speak to their specific issues they're navigating. But if you can give those pieces away, it's just that taste of like, this would be good for me. Whatever they just did as they worked through how to deal with that specific situation and that little tool you have, that's the kind of stuff that's going to come across the screen where they're like, okay, this is interesting. I should follow this person more. I should connect with this person. So don't be afraid to give a little bit away, because it's gonna be that thing that gets them over the line to be like, I need to book a call with this person.
And then sort of, I think this ties into this nicely. How do paid ads factor into all of this?
Yeah, I'll speak to part of that right now. So there was actually an event with Google a few months ago that, again, when I talked about this idea that earlier that Google's not standing still, They are so actively thinking about how to incorporate ads into all these portions of AI search. ChatGPT, they're not there right now as far as ads go, so there's no real quick win with that. But we wouldn't be shocked if eventually we see ads start cropping up in some form of ChatGPT. And so at the end of the day, ads are still a fantastic way to show up first. I always say this, especially if you're either in a highly competitive market or you're brand new and you haven't had time to build up that online reputation yet. You know, Gabe talked earlier about being on page 20. It's like if you're on page 20, an ad puts you to the top of page 1 tomorrow and gets you a click through for someone to book an appointment. And so it's a real quick win. I think what we're talking about here is kind of this whole bigger strategy, but ads are still, and you know, as far as we know, and we'll update you if this ever changes, but there's still a way to ensure some bookings. So definitely worth exploring.
There was a question from Terry about virtual, not opposed to like, yeah, being a virtual clinic. And from what I've seen helping virtual clinics is that like whether you're in Canada or the United States, your home province or your home state is the first place that you have the biggest opportunity to kind of attract people. So, like what I've seen work for clinics that are virtual is focusing in on, creating pages or blogs or FAQs about how you serve people in your home state, in your home province, starting off pretty much as close to your physical location as possible, and then slowly building out expanding virtually. But I think just starting closer to home and then expanding is the best approach.
Amazing. There are so many excellent questions in here. It's going to be really hard to get to them all, so we will do our best to follow up afterwards, but I'm just going to pull a few other great ones. So Allison asked, what are, in terms of patient stories or really any content, I think, what are there keywords that are best used so AI can grab that information? I know Gabe, I think you talked a little bit about this in the last session too, but how do people find the right keywords to put into their content to make sure that it's getting grabbed by SEO and AI?
Well, you could, if you have, if you have Google Search Console set up for your business, I think if you don't have Google Search Console set up for your business, set it up immediately. And because it is a free tool that you can see exact phrases, they're called queries that people are searching and that Google is recognizing your business for. So you can find hundreds of free keywords, queries using Google Search Console. And then there's other tools like SE ranking that is a more, it's a paid software for keyword research, but it's on the lower end of, cost per month. Same with Ahrefs, but I'd say Google Search Console is an amazing keyword research tool and something to think about if you can solicit reviews is to encourage people to like I think there's a right way and a better way of soliciting a review, and it's like if they came for a lower back adjustment or shockwave therapy, to include that term in the review, right? So if you hand somebody a business card after they've received a treatment from you, if they can include the treatment they received and the clinic name where they received it, this is gonna really, it's just gonna elevate this review. And when we're talking about keywords, if you're sharing stories, like from the very foundation, just think about your core service and your location. And this is, that's the key. So if you're doing spinal decompression in Boise, that's your key, that's your main keyword, spinal decompression in Boise. And then like that's the easiest way to think about a keyword.
Hey, I reserve the right to do a shameless plug here. So for those of you who are like love tech, love DIY, Google Search Console, go set it up, dig into these queries, use tools like Ahrefs. For those of you who maybe got lost along the way there or thought, oh my goodness, what is this new tool I have to use? This is why Clinic Sites has set up the SEO Booster program. So we brought Gabe on earlier this year to join us. Having someone who can just go do all of this for you. We set up your search console, we review your queries, We understand what terminology, what keywords are being used for people that are searching for your clinic, and then we help you go after those terms. If that feels like a win for you, that's exactly what we're here to do. So, as Gabe was saying that, I was like, I bet you so many people are just like exhausted at the thought of having to create a new account. And then once you're seeing these like tables of data that Gabe just lives in, like this is the win for this. And I feel like I love, sorry, this is a very shameless plug. I just love that we can offer this service to people where it's like you don't have to do all this on your own. So, anyways, end plug.
That's great. And Gabe, I see you wrote in the chat as well that
Okay.
there's lots of YouTube videos about setting it up. And so we can include these resources for everyone in the email as well. There's a couple other like requests for resources. So Kevin asked if we could supply the study that's referenced the ChatGPT versus Google comparison. So we could include that in the follow-up email, no problem. And some of the other resources that people ask for, the community page, the recording, we'll share all of that as well. But happy to pop that back into the chat as well. I wanted to go back to a question that Corinne posted in the chat, which was she was just wondering if you could go back to, I'm gonna miss it, but talking about Gabe, you talked about this in the last session, how Jane helps with SEO, like how having your Jane booking site connected to Jane helps with your SEO.
It's because Jane is a powerhouse. The online authority that they is associated with the website. So different websites and businesses online carry a different authority, and we call it kind of like juice. So Jane is rated as a very high authority, like a high ranking authority online. Google would be super high, one of the highest. Wikipedia, Mayo Clinic, WebMD, Harvard Business Education. These sites all have very high domain rating. Jane also has a very high domain rating, and so when your business is associated with other businesses or websites that have these high domain ratings, that juice gets transferred over to you. So I've seen some people that don't have a website, that only have a Jane booking app, and they're showing up in the search results for specific services they offer solely because that Jane booking page has a very high domain authority.
So I just want to specifically call out here what we're referring to is when you have online booking turned on and you take your logo and link it back to your website, that backlink is where all of this juice comes from because a janeapp.com website is linking to your website. It instantly gives you a boost in your SEO.
Amazing. And to go back to sort of content and social media, Christy was asking, can you use the same content across all of your sites? Do you need to be like modifying or optimizing? What does that look like? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so I'll actually jump into this one because I actually had a great question I was mentioning, speaking to someone who lives in this world yesterday, is that as a default, it's totally fine to post the same content across all things, especially when we're all as busy as we are trying to figure out how to do this well. It's okay if you have a video to put it onto Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all these different places. In an ideal world, if you were a big company with a marketing team, you would customize that content to speak to the different um, trends, the different topics that are being talked about um, on each social network, as well as kind of catering that content. Like YouTube really likes long form content, but Instagram really likes these quick hit pieces. And so there's all, I'm just giving some random examples, but you would really cater the content to different social networks. But the reality is that's going to be beyond what most of us are able to do. And so I think at the very least, just getting good content that's valuable, that speaks to the things your audience cares about and is thinking about and talking about, and getting that up onto networks is going to be a great place to start.
And the question was
Amazing.
content, right? Types of content.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, can you put the same content across all of your channels, or should you be, yeah, adapting it?
Okay.
Amazing. Well, I think, we're getting close to time, but I think we probably have a bit of time for a few more questions. There's definitely some specific questions around clinic sites, so I'm going to ask a couple of them, and you can sort of answer them together. So someone was asking, will or does clinic sites include AI search optimization in the SEO package?
It's baked into our SEO strategy, right? I was trying to kind of communicate this, like the foundations of SEO like AI search is using Google as their source of truth. Everything that they come up with is because of the work that Google has done over the past few decades. So pretty much if you're doing traditional SEO, you're setting yourself up for success in AI search. So the short answer is yes.
Nice. And then there's a couple more in here. Is there a webinar for setting up clinic sites? So someone already has their website created, so they're wondering, is there a webinar? How can they get started?
They have a different website, sorry?
Uh, Potentially. Caitlin says, is there a webinar for setting up clinic sites? We already have our website created, so probably we need to get a bit more information. So probably best if Caitlin reaches out.
Yeah. So what I'll just say is that so we do have some webinars and some videos we can send out, but what I would actually say is the best experience is you can jump on no charge with any one of our onboarding team members, and they will help you build your website and get going. If specifically you're thinking about SEO Booster, that's a different conversation. So just fill out that form. Maybe I can flash up the QR code here again from earlier. So that's the QR code to just let us know you're interested. And in that case, one of our SEO team members will reach out to you if that's the case. So either way, we'd love to chat with you. I think that's a great place to start.
And I think that ties back to a question from Bianca. So she was asking, do you have to use clinic sites to use the SEO booster, or can you use that? Can you work with clinic sites even if you don't have a clinic sites website?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, perfect.
We are, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I should specify here. Part of the SEO Booster program does involve making adjustments to your website. So we do have everyone who comes on go through a bit of a process to make sure that we can easily make those changes. If you know, there's a number of platforms or kind of archaic setups that might be too difficult, where we might be challenging for us to work. So we'd go through a bit of an orientation process to make sure it's a good fit if we were to do that.
Nice. And then definitely someone's interested to know the cost for the service. So I don't know if you have a slide or if you just want to direct people somewhere, but someone was asking how much.
Yeah, definitely. So I will just quickly mention that when we looked at comparable services, as we were kind of trying to figure out how to price this, SEO typically ranges from the 500 to usually 1500 would be, and I mean, you can go anywhere beyond from there, but that's what a lot of SEO agencies will offer. And that was not acceptable to us because we did not want to put that kind of impact on the budget of a small clinic who was trying to figure out how to rank better. And so we didn't really do this as much of a sales pitch, so I didn't really go through all the benefits of what SEO Booster has, but just as an easy way to say it, so it's $189 per month for the SEO Booster package. That involves us building content for your website, doing these kind of keyword reviews that we talked about, building a whole strategy for you, looking at those directory listing citations, talking about just what were the other pieces there? Gabe, am I missing anything obvious off the top?
The site, yeah, citation, content, and there's
Google,
more in
Google
the
Business
pipeline that we
Profile.
do.
Sorry, the Google Business Profile was the other one I was trying to think about. I just wanted to drop that in there, just helping with optimization of that.
I think that there was one follow-up that we should make when we were going back to talking about the connecting your website to Jane. So using your online booking and how that provides additional SEO power. It's not that Jane is better than another platform for that. It's not that Jane provides additional that like Jane versus another software. It's just that as a whole, having it connected to a website, and I'll let you talk about that a bit more, Gabe, because that's not really my area of expertise, obviously, but it's not Jane versus any other service, any other platform they might use like Jane. It's how that ties together.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that comment as well because it's not necessarily your website that's connected to Jane that's getting all the authority. It isn't. It's the booking page that has all the authority. So another competitor of Jane that also has very high authority, if you have booking with them, you are also going to get their juice as well. We're just saying that if you don't have a website and all you have is a Jane booking page, that Jane booking page or a competitor that has also high authority, you'll show up in the first result. So it's like the Jane software that is transferring all that juice.
Right. So it's a benefit regardless of what platform you would use. Just having that online booking site and having it through Jane is great because you get that benefit, but it's not just because of Jane.
You can actually go into Google and type in like domain rating checker or like site authority checker. And instead of, like asking, like no shade, asking GPT or Google, like go to a site that tells you a domain rating. And you can plug in Wikipedia, Google, and see the high domain rating that's associated. It'll be a scale out of 100 or a scale out of 50. And you can plug in Jane.app. You can plug in other competitors, and you can see people, like, this is all public information. You can plug in your website and see what the domain rating is compared to other people's websites, your competitors' websites. And these are all things we do in SEO Booster, and this is all part of it.
Amazing. I just want to call it, a few people in the chat are saying they're having some trouble filling out the clinic sites form, and so maybe we can just ensure we follow up with everybody after.
Yeah, that's good to know. We'll check. We can send it on the follow-up email if there's any glitches with the form, so you can fill it out there.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that we have covered so much. I think we could keep talking about this for so long. So, Gabe, Matt, I'll give you, is there any last question if you want to go check in the Q&A? I think we've covered most of them, but if there's any last question you might want to answer to wrap us up, let me know. But I think we've gotten to most of them.
I'll
Thank
just
you everyone for your incredible questions.
I'll just speak to Aurora's question, which is only that's probably a bigger question for the Jane product team, who's currently working on kind of a online directory for all clinics. So I'm sure, to your point, they will be very careful of who they ask for reviews from, but we probably have to defer to that one. So maybe there's a way through Jane support to get an answer to that question.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Gabe and Matt, and thank you to the Clinic Sites team and the Jane team in the chat and Q&A. But truly, thank you, everyone, for these incredible questions. They're not just great for you all to learn, but they're so helpful for us to figure out what we need to layer in next, how we build our own content, what we do for that. So this is really incredible. Thank you so much. I think we obviously could have continued to talk about this forever. I have so many ideas like, oh, we need an AI workshop. Do we need an AMA with Gabe? Just throw you out there into the community, Gabe, and let people ask you questions for an hour. I think would be very valuable. So thank you so much, Gabe, Matt. Any final words as we say goodbye to our community?
Just appreciate the time, and we will continue to be here to I love this idea that we get to just be sitting here thinking about this stuff all day for you so that you don't have to, but we'll keep letting you know everything we learn along the way as this world continues to evolve on a daily
Yeah.
basis.
This has been super fun, and I really think that we have some more work ahead of us for, showing these resources and tactics and giving it to our community. So I think we have some work ahead of us.
Amazing. And again, one more, as Matt did, shameless plug for the Jane community. If you want to continue this conversation, please do join us there. And we have some more exciting things coming for the community throughout this year and into 2026. So we'd love to have you join us there and just continue this conversation with your peers. So with that, thank you so much for taking this hour out of your day. We know how busy everyone is, and we truly appreciate it. And we will see you at the next one, part 4, coming soon. So we'd love to know what topics you'd like to see. I think we already ran that poll to get some feedback. So your topics help us pick the next session topics. So thank you so much. Have a great day, and we will see you all soon.
Thanks, everyone.